All right, so good morning. Welcome back to the algebra trig class again. So yesterday we started with linear functions, and we also have seen that how we can write equations for lines, especially the straight lines. And at the same time, those equations and those functions are called linear functions because they are functions for lines, straight lines, and their slopes are same at every single point. Okay, because we just found one slope for one line, since they are a straight line. Today we will also learn about some other different forms of line. But before I start, I just want to make sure that all the equations of straight lines can be transformed from one form to another form. Okay, so don't get confused by the forms, because sometimes based on the information we have, we choose that which form is most suitable to find the equation for a line. Okay. And at the end, we'll compare between the forms, and we'll basically try to sort out that based on what kind of information, what form we are going to choose. Now here today, remember the last one that we discussed was the point-intercept form. Now today we are talking about the slope-intercept form. Now remember, all these forms will give you the same equation at the end. The only difference is they will look different at the beginning, because for an example here, look at the equation of the line. In this form, we write the equation which looks like y equal to mx plus b. Now we know y and x are the parameters, and m is the slope of the line. So that much we know. But the b is new to us. The b is basically the y-intercept. Okay. So basically the b is the portion of the portion of y-axis that is basically cut by the line. For an example, the blue line here, look at the blue line, is basically cut b portion from the y-axis, right? Y-axis, and that b is your equation. Now, for an example, let's say you are given a problem, and in that problem you know the slope of the line. You also know the y-intercept, which is basically the portion of the y-axis that was cut by the line. Now this is going to be the best form for that problem. Okay. Now remember the other form that we have discussed yesterday. In that form, we just we could have find an equation of a line if we have just 2 points. Because using the 2 points, we can find the slope, which will be m. And using either one of the point, we can just find x1, y1, which we needed, right? Let me remind you that form. That form was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, in this form, in that form, you just needed 2 points, because you needed 2 points to get your slope. Anytime you need 2 points to get the slope, and you just need 1 point in either of those two, any one you can use to get your x1 and y1, and that is good for that. Now, what if instead of that information you are given only the slope and the b-intercept? I'm sorry, the y-intercept. So the portion of the y axis that was cut by the line. So then this is going to be your best choice. Now, what we are doing differently? We are not doing differently anything, because at the end all the equations will look like same. Doesn't matter how you write. I'm saying either you can write y equal to something, or you can just put everything in the left side. And also another interesting thing is those forms are interchangeable. For an example, you started with this equation because you are given some information along this line, because you are given, let's say, the y-intercept and the slope. and then you started here, and then at the end you found an equation. Now once you find the equation, if you want, you can go back and you can just change the form to this form. Okay, so we'll show you that. We'll show you how to do that. Now for an example here, let's say this is a line you were given. Okay, now let me check whether we have, so let's say this is, let me pick an example here. Maybe we can use this one as an example. Let's say this is a line you were given, okay, and the slope is predefined, which is, let's say, half. So you just replace the m by half because you know the slope. And let's say the b is 2, so your y-intercept is 2. That was given to you. So you just replace the b by 2. And you are ready because you got the function, because you can just replace fx by y because you know fx is y. And let's say instead of that, you probably have a different line where the slope is 2 and b-intercept is -4. Now how the intercept can be negative? Because when the line is cutting something from the negative side of the y, okay, maybe something like this. Let's say your line is something like here. So look at this portion. This is the y-intercept, but this is in the negative side. So all the intercept you have in the negative side, that will be preceded by -3, 4, 5, whatever. And if you are given that, you just replace the b by that negative value, whatever intercept you have. Now here we are just trying to compare the last form we had and this form we have, and just to make sure that whether we understand the difference. Remember, at the end, both of the equations will look like same because they are equations of line, and they are interchangeable if you need. Now, first of all, both of the forms work for non-vertical line. Why? Because every vertical line has a slope undefined. So both of the equation, you see there is an m. Now since there is an m, you do not have m for vertical lines because the m is undefined. There is a way of getting the equation for vertical line. We'll show you that. And there are ways of getting the equation of line without knowing the slope. We are not going there yet, but we'll be there. Now, so those are the ways you can probably of the vertical lines. But both of these do not apply to the vertical lines because the vertical lines have the slope undefined.
Now, you cannot replace the m by something undefined. So none of these will work for that.
But what are the difference? In the left side one, the point slope, the one that we discussed, you will need m and you will need 1 point. That one option. Okay? Either you will need m or 1 point, because if you have m, you can just replace m here, and by the other point you can replace x1 and y1. Other option is, if you don't have m, you will need 2 points. Because using 2 points, you can get the m. And out of those 2 points, you can use either one of those 2 points to write your equation. So either you use x1, y1, I'm saying the first point or second point, which one you want. In the second option, you will need the slope. Now, to get the slope again, if you are given the slope, you are fine. But if you are not given the slope, you need 2 points again, because you know anytime you need to calculate the slope, you always need 2 points, and there is no other way, because we just know one formula for calculating the slope. And you will also know the b-intercept. You will have to know that what is the how much of the y-axis cut by the line. You must have to know that. So this is the comparison, and none of these will work for the non-vertical line, the vertical lines. Now, here we are trying to draw the line from the slope-intercept form. Now let's say you are given the equation in this form. You know, you can basically tweak and twist each and every equation to fit into one form. Let's say, for an example, let's say, let me show you something here. Let's say somebody gave you an equation like this. Let's say somebody gave you an equation 3y equals to, let's say, 6x plus 9. Okay. Let's say this is an equation, okay, and of course this is an equation of this is an equation of line for sure. Now, do you know the slope of the line at this point? You probably don't know it just looking at that, right? But you will be able to know it soon if you just change into some of this form. Let's say this is one of the form, right? For an example, what is the form? The form is y equal to mx plus b. Now, if you convert this equation into this form, then you will know the m from here. Now, how to convert it? Look at it carefully. In the left side, you just will have y. So you have to isolate the y in the left side. Look at this. Doesn't matter how the function is given to you, as long as it is a function of x and y, in which order, you can always do some algebra, and at the end you will have y at the left side, right? For an example, in this case, what you can do? You can just divide both sides by 3, right? Because you want to get rid of this 3, right? To make it y. So let's do that. If you divide both sides by 3, what do you get? You will get y here. You'll get 2x because you're dividing it by 3. You'll get 3. Is it matching with that pattern right now? Because you have in the left side you have y. That all you need to make sure. Now you know this is the same equation. This is still the same equation. Now can you tell us what is the slope? Now you know the slope because you know it's matching. So the slope is for sure m, which is 2. Now what is the b-intercept? I'm sorry, the y-intercept. 3. Now the first question is, given this information, because you know so far you know the slope and so you know the b-intercept. Given this information, can you draw the line? You can, but how? Let's say you know the b-intercept, which is positive 3. So let's say that will be here, right? So the line must intersect this point, right? Because that's the positive 3 on the y-axis. So line must intersect this line. But can you draw a line just by one point? You cannot. You will need at least 2 points, right, to draw the line. So you will need one more point. How to do that? Now that's so easy. Look at this. All you need to do is you have to just use the slope to do that. Okay? Let me make it a little bit more exciting so that we can just see some real example. Let's say I change it a little bit, make it a little bit more, let's say I make it 4, so it will be like 4 over 3, right? We divided both sides by 3, so it will be 4 over 3. Now this time the slope is 4 over 3. Now, and this is still 3. So you know that the line will be definitely passing through this line at this point, but you don't know the other point. You just need one more point to draw the line. Now how to do that? It's very simple. So all you need to do is you will first, starting from this point, you will first run 4, and then 4 to the y direction, and then you will run 3 to x direction. Now look at carefully. The 4 is positive 4, right? So all you need to do is, starting from here, look at this. You will start always from that point, okay? Starting from that point, from the y-intercept, you will go 4 towards y. This is positive 4, so you will go upward, right? Positive is always upward for the y, right? So let's say I go another 4 segment. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm here right now. This is my 4. And then, so I'm done with this part. But at the bottom, at the denominator, I have 3, right? So I will move three direction, that direction towards x-axis. So basically, I will move 3. This is positive 3, right? And positive is which side? This side is the positive of the x-axis, right? So I'll move 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be the point, other point. Again, what I did, I first started with this 4. I first started with the numerator, and starting from this point, I basically moved along the y-axis. 4 coordinates, right? Because this was 4. So I started from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I looked at the denominator, and then I moved towards the y-axis. Since this is positive, I moved towards right. So I basically moved 1, 2, 3 points. Now this is going to be your another point for that line. Now once you know that point, let me write it down here. Once you know that point, you already know 2 points of the line, and you can draw the line for sure. Now, what is the coordinate of this line? 0, 3, right? How about this? X is 3 here, right? 1, 2, 3. How about y? Y is 7, right? Because this is 3 and this is 4, so that's 7. 3, 7. As long as you know 2 points, you can draw the line, and that's it. Now let's try some example. Let's try. Now, look at the another. So this is already ready for you, because it's already m is already there. What is m? 2/3. And what is b, which is 4, which is y-intercept, right? So let me show you the animation, and then we'll do an exercise. Now, what you do is, since we have the y-intercept 4, right? We definitely will have a point on the line which will be intersecting the y-axis on 0, 4, right? At 0, 4, for sure, right? That will be on the line because the y-intercept is 4. So 0, 4 will be always on the line for sure. Now how about the other point? Look at how we are calculating. We are going rise by 2. Why we are rising by 2? Because in the numerator we have 2, right? So we are rising by 2. We might be falling by 2 if it is negative 2. Okay, and then we will run means go to the right because that's positive by 3 units. Do you see the red lines? How we are moving. And now we know the points. What will be the point? 3, 6 for sure, because this is 3 unit, and this is going to be 6 because you already had 4, and then you rise another 2, and you can just count, it's 6, right? So I'm sorry, 3 and 6. So the 3, 6 is going to be your another point. Since you know 2 points, you can draw the line for sure. That's exactly what we do. Now let's try an example. Can we draw this? Now here we don't have any denominator, so we don't have to. I'm saying we have denominator, which is what? 1. So don't assume that you don't have the denominator. So you still have the denominator. So you will be falling by 3 and running 1. Don't assume that there is no denominator, because the denominator is always 1 if you don't see the denominator, right? How about here? Rise 1, run 2. Basically you will be going to the right side because that's negative half, just half. And another point is what? What is the other point? Look at the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept here? It's negative 3, right? So what will be that point? Is 0, negative 3. So that point will be here, right? This is going to be the point, right? 0, negative 3. So we know this point, and we can find the other point from the slope. Now remember, even the function, the equation is not given in this form. This is like y equal to mx plus b form, or maybe some people call it slope intercept form. If it is not given in this form, you can convert it to this form, right? Just the way we did here. Let's say you have an equation of a line, and then let's say we wanted to write the equation in this form. All we did is we just tried to match the pattern, and we know that left side we have to have y, and to get that we just divided both sides by 3 to get rid of this 3. And then we had this, and once we have it, we know the slope, we know the b. So for each and every single equation of the line, unless that is a horizontal line or a vertical line, you'll be able to do this. And once you have it, you know the m, you'll know the slope, you'll know the b or meaning y-intercept. Once you know both of those, you'll be able to draw the line. Remember, there are several other ways of drawing the line. This is not the only way, but this is the way of drawing lines if you have the equation in this form. Okay? And every single linear equation, meaning the equation of a line, unless that is horizontal line or vertical line, you will be able to do it. You will have more choices over the time. When you learn more, you will see you will have more choices because you will have several options of doing the same thing. Don't assume that this is the only way, okay? Because there are other options too, and you will see it soon. But that's one option. If you know it better, doesn't matter what linear function it is, as long as that is not vertical and horizontal line. You will also know whether the line is vertical or horizontal just by looking at the equation soon. Now, again, here we go. Horizontal and vertical lines. Now, so far, all we knew were that the horizontal line has slope 0, and vertical lines have slope undefined. Okay. Now here is the equation of the horizontal line. Now, what is a single property you have in the horizontal line? You see, doesn't matter what kind of horizontal. So any horizontal line means that line is parallel to x-axis, right? Doesn't matter where it exists. So all we do is we basically, and since it is horizontal to x-axis, it must intersect y, right? It will never intersect x, because that is parallel to x. So it will never intersect x, but it will always intersect y, right? Look at the equation. Look at the line, the blue line that intersected y. So any line that is parallel to x-axis will always intersect y, right, at some point. Now, once it intersected, you will know the intercept, right? For an example here, the intercept is b. So the equation will be extremely simple, which is y equals to b. All you need is that intercept. If you know the intercept, look at this. You don't even need the slope. Now somebody might ask the question, why don't you know the slope? Because the slope is 0. You basically, even if you apply that slope here, when it is 0, this term will be gone, right? 0 times x. So that's why, look at this. That's why there is no x term. I'm just trying to give you some logical explanation of why you don't see x. So all you need is the y-intercept, and you should be fine. And anytime, this is how we know it. Let's say somebody gave you an equation, and they said, okay, I have a line, and the equation is y equals to -5. Right away, you will know that is a line which is parallel to x-axis, because there is no x term. You see what I'm saying? So you will know it for sure right away. So again, in case of vertical lines, so far we know that the vertical line has a complicated issue because the slope is undefined. But there is a way of finding the vertical line, because any vertical line means it is parallel to y-axis, right? And it must intersect x-axis. Doesn't matter where it is. It will always intersect x, right? Now, since it intersects x, you will always know the x-intercept. Excuse me. So for an example here, let's say your blue line, and you know the x-intercept, which is, for an example, a, and you just need that. X equals to a will be your equation. And look at this equation. There is no y. There is no y. So anytime somebody give you an equation, let's say x equals to -3, you will know that is a vertical line. So the vertical lines and the horizontal lines are extremely simply distinguishable from the other lines, because in vertical lines there is no y term, in the horizontal lines there is no x term. Okay, and you just need the intercepts to get that equation. And it's also simple to draw, because for an example, let's say somebody gave you an equation of y equals to x equals to 2. All you need is you just know the 2 and you draw the line intersecting 2. If it is x equals to -4, also let's say -3, you will draw, you know the -3 and you will draw the line here vertically. Same is true for the horizontal lines. Let's say somebody gave you an equation y equals to -4. All we did is just, we know the -4 and we draw the line. If it is y equals to -3, I'm sorry, the 3, then we just draw the line here, right? Intersecting 3 as an intercept. Any questions so far? I think we know, right, how the line will be. First of all, x equals to 4. This is going to be vertical line, right? Vertical lines are, there is no y for vertical lines. So x equals to 4. So that line must be here, right? And y equals to -2. That line is going to be here, along -2. So straight line. Now, remember, at the beginning I said we'll be looking at a couple of different forms of line. Remember, there are different forms. By the forms, we mean that we are talking about the same lines, but we are writing the equation in different forms, because you know, you can write the same equation in several different forms, right? Look at the forms here. We wrote the equation in this way. We can write the same equation in a different form. You can just put everything in the left side, you know. So you can write the same equation in a different form. But now we are trying to talk in a general form, okay? But again, as I said before, doesn't matter what form it is, they are interchangeable. You can do some algebra and you can change the form from one. So even if your equation is given in general form, you can change it to this form, or if you want, you can change it into other form, like the point slope form, which we discussed yesterday. Now let's look at that form. That is a general form where you will have all the terms in the left side. In the right side, you will have 0. So you see here, A, B, and C, those are real numbers. Have you ever heard the real numbers? What are the real numbers? Integers belong to real numbers, but real numbers are all the numbers of the world, even all the fractions and everything. Every single number except some irrational numbers, so we'll probably talk about those later. But real numbers include everything. For an example, 1.6925, this is not an integer, because the integers are all the whole numbers basically. Integers are like 1, 2, 3, 4, on the other side 0, -1, -2, -5, -7, those are integers. But the real numbers are everything. Like, can you tell us how many real numbers you have between 1 and 2? There are infinite numbers, because you'll never be able to finish those. You'll never be able to write all the numbers between 1 and 2. There are infinite numbers, because you know 1.61297. So you can write infinite numbers, and in fact there are infinite real numbers. So ABCs can be real number. So all of these are real number, and X and Y are the parameters. We know that. But remember, be careful. A and B cannot be 0, both cannot be 0 at the same time. Either a can be 0, because when the a is 0, x term will be gone, right? What does it mean? It means that the line is horizontal, right? If y is 0, the b is 0, then y term will be gone. That means the line is vertical. But it's impossible to understand why both are 0, because in that case that's not an equation of a line. That's probably something else. Because even that can never be true, and there can be no such equation, because you cannot find an equation which will tell you like 6 equals to 0, because c is a constant number. Okay, any constant number cannot be equal to 0, right? Except that is 0 itself. Except the c is a 0, yeah. So, but this is a general form. Now let me show you the general form. Look at this. As I said before, doesn't matter what form it is, all the forms are interchangeable. Now let's say you are given an equation of a line in general form, which is, look at this. This is in general form, right? Because look at the general form. What is the value of a here? 4. What is the value of b? -5. b is -5. c is 20, right? Now given that, let's say somebody asks you, can you tell me what is the slope of this line? All you need to do is convert that general form to this form, because once you do it, you'll know the slope. We exactly did that. So to do that, what you need to do is you have to isolate the y in the left side, right? Look at that. What we did, we just basically took everything in the right side. How we do that? We first subtracted 20 from both sides so that we can get rid of 20. In the second line, in the third line, what we tried is we tried to subtract 4x from both sides, right? When we subtracted 4x from both sides, we got rid of this 4x. And then now we are left with -5y. Still we have to get rid of -5. To do that, what do you need to do? Divide both sides by -5. And that's exactly what we did. After we divided, look at this form at the end. Do you see it is matching with the form y equal to mx plus b? Now you know what is the slope. Now you know what is the b-intercept. And you can draw the line. So the slope is 4/5, and the intercept is 4, right? If a is 0, you'll be left with y is something, right? So that will be horizontal line. Because any horizontal line does not have x term, right? That's only y equal to something. Now, this is basically you need to understand that doesn't matter how the form look like, you can always convert it to some other form. So this is probably one of the most suitable form, because in this form you can right away tell what is m, what is b, and as long as you know m and b, you can draw the line if you want, given any plot. Sometime you might see some question like this. So the question is given, okay, this is an equation of a line, can you draw it? So what you need to do is change the form. Once you change it, you know the slope, you know the b-intercept. So from the b-intercept, you know one point, right? And from b-intercept and slope, you will know the other point. Once you know 2 points, you're done. But probably the question will not tell you all the details. It will just tell you, okay, this is an equation of a line. Even it will not tell you that what form it is. Probably that's a general form, which is this. So yeah, I think we know this. Can you try this? Just to make sure you can do that. Okay. This is in general form. We want to find the y equal to mx plus b form. Once we have it, we can draw the line from the slope and the intercept. So what is the slope? Everyone has the same answer. And b-intercept? Positive 2. Everyone has the same answer? Let's move on. Now, so again, as I said, you will have multiple options. Now we know that if you know this form, or you can convert into this form, using the information from here, you can draw the line. Now this is your another option, that using the intercept, okay, can you draw the line? Now how can you do that? Now let's say you are given an equation in general form. You can of course choose this and draw the line. But what are the other options? Now other option is, let me tell you another option. Let's say, as you can see, if the line is not horizontal or vertical, that line must intersect x and y axis both. See what I'm saying? If it is not horizontal and not vertical, it will must intersect both of the axes, right? Any doubt? There is no way it cannot intersect. See what I'm saying? Now, if you know, for an example, let's say, I'm just trying to give you the idea before we look at the steps or whatever. Now, let's say your x and y axes are here, but you know the b-intercept, I'm sorry, the y-intercept, which is b, and you also know the x-intercept. Can you draw the line? That's exactly what we are looking for right now. So, at this point, from the general equation, we are just trying to see whether we can find the x-intercept and y-intercept for any line. Because once you know that, you can of course draw the line. And the step is extremely simple. All you need to do is, to get the x-intercept, you have to replace the y's by 0. All the y by 0. And to get the y-intercept, you have to replace all the x by 0. It's so simple. Now for an example, let's say, here is an example. Let's say your equation is 6x minus 2y equal to 12. Okay. Remember, you still have this option. Okay. You can always go here, get the slope, get the b, and draw the line. That's already there. Okay. This is the option number 2. What you can do is, you can find x-intercept. To do that, we just replace the y's by 0. Okay. Let's try this. Look at how we are doing. We replace the y by 0. So that is gone. 6x equals to 12, right? So the x equals to 2. Now once you know it, what is going to be the point? 2, 0, right? Because you know that is on the x-axis, right? That must be 2, 0. You replace the y, to get the y-intercept, you are replacing x by 0. Now you have 2y equals to 12. And then you are trying to find the y, which is negative 6. Now you have the second point. And that must be on the y-axis, right? Which is 0, negative 6. As long as you know 2 points, you can draw the line. How? Look at the first point, the green one. Do you see the point? Which is what? 2, 0. Look at the other point. Other green point, which is 0, negative 6. Now once you know these 2 points, you know the line. This is the option number 2. You will always have these 2 options if the line is not vertical, not horizontal. For any equation, doesn't matter how it look like, as long as that is an equation of a line, You will always have these two options. Now it's up to you which one you choose. The reason we discuss all of those because we want to make sure that you understand that there are multiple options. Okay, and sometime you might have some question where you will need some specific option, but at this point I cannot think of that. But I think for me, doesn't matter what equation it is, you'll be always able to do so. But one option may be easier than other one for some equation based on when you'll be a little bit more in advanced mode, you'll be able to see it. Just looking at the equation, you'll know, okay, this will be easier for this maybe. I think this is more easier than the previous one. What do you mean by the fraction? Here? No. We are just, these are just points. We are not calculating any rise or run here. These are just raw points. Even that is a fraction. For an example, if this is like half, let's say this is half 0. What do? Just get the half. Half 0 is here, right? You can always plot a point in the graph, right? Because these are not slope, these are just points, right? That was a different step because we had the slope and we just calculated another point from the slope using rise and run, but these are just raw points. I think for some people, most of the people found this one easy because just replace this by x equal to 0 and y equal to 0. Any equation you get x and y intercept. Once you have it, you just draw the line. Your points are different because if you use this formula, you will get the points on the x and y axis. If you use the this one, you probably will get two different points, but the line will be same. If you calculated it right, the line will be same. Now that's exactly another example, but I'm just skipping it for now. Now that's another again. You can just replace x by, I think this is quite easy. You just replace x by 0 to get the y-intercept, y by 0 to get the x-intercept. Once you have it, you can draw the line. Now, this is exactly what we covered so far. We have seen 5 different forms. The first form was the point-slope form we discussed yesterday. The second one was the slope-intercept form, which is y equal to mx plus b that we started just today. And the third and fourth forms are different because they are just applied to horizontal and vertical lines. They are not applied for the other lines, okay? And they are extremely distinguishable because in those equations, let's say the horizontal one, you don't have x, vertical one, you don't have y. So you will know it right away that they are horizontal and vertical lines. And the last one, which is a general form, but at the same time, remember the form, the equation, the number 1, 2, and 5, they are interchangeable. Any form can be transformed to other form. Now it's up to you which one you need or when you need or how you need. You can always do that using some algebra. Now, this is probably in the last part of the section 1.4. We'll look at some real applications that where basically you will need the slope and how these kind of slopes equations will really help you to model some real life application. For an example, this is an interesting problem. The graph gives the median age of US population in the indicated year. Okay, you see here along this line we have years after 1970. So for an example, this is 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, something like that. Now, the data displayed as a scatter plot, because this kind of plot are called scatter plot because they have some scatter points with 2 points on line indicated, and find the equation of the line in order to make the prediction of the US population in future. Why we are talking about future? Because this is 70, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, and this is 2020. So this is basically your future, right? Because we are probably here at this point. Now let's say you have some data, okay? And based on that, you found, so what data you have? You were given some data. So for an example, you are given 2 data points. For an example, let's say you are given 1 data point here and you are given 1 data point here. and from those two data points, you found the slope, right? Now, once you have the slope, using the slope and using one point, you can draw the line. Remember the first form, point-slope form. From the slope, from one point, you can draw the line. We exactly did that. We just have drawn the line. This is the equation. This looks a little bit ugly because in real life, things are not that, like y equals to 5x plus 3. It will not be like that. It will be like, like this. Y equal to 0.265x plus 27.35. But, still you can draw the line. So once you have the line, you know that line, and what can you do with this line? That might be an interesting question. So let's say you draw the line. Now what can you do? Now let me show you what you can do. Let's say we are going to use that equation to predict the median age of US population in 2010, because this book was written in a little bit earlier than 2010, but you can still do it for 2020, 2030, 2040. Now let's say 2010, that means we'll substitute in 40 for x. Now once you have this equation, you know that along x-axis you have all the years, right? And y is basically your population, the median age of the population. Now let's say, and okay, just from here, can anyone tell me what is the independent and dependent variables here? No, I'm talking about the variable, x and y. Let's say we have two variables, x and y. So one is an independent variable, and other one is dependent, right? Which one is what? So the x is the independent variable, right? Most of the cases, if you see, there are several ways of knowing it. As long as you know the graph, you can guess, because most of the cases, independent variable is plotted along the x-axis. Okay, so which is here. So this is your independent variable, which is year, right? So now, since we are talking about 2010, so that must be your 30, right? Because this is 1980. Oh, that's 40. 1980, 1990, 2000. So the 2010 is going to be 40, right? Because we are starting from 1970. So 00 means 1970. Okay. We are just showing a segment of the graph. So 2010 means 40. So all you need to do is, in your equation, you replace the x by 40. Because we want to know what will be the median age in 2010. So replace the x by 40, you will get in y, right? And that is the answer. Remember, this is prediction. Prediction is not real, but people still want to predict what will be the weather tomorrow, something like that. Let's say you want to predict what will be the median age for for example, for 2020. So all you need to do is replace the x by 50. Once you have an equation, you can replace it, and you can get something which will tell you what will be the median age. Okay. Now this is another example. It's not answered, so we will try to do it ourselves. Now let's say we have a local pizza store, okay, and they have some options and prices. So these are the diameter of the pizzas, like 8, 10, 12, 16, and these are their prices. Now let's say, based on whatever they know, this is what they know, okay, because this is already they have. Now let's say, look at the last line, if the company decides to make an 18-inch pizza, how much should they charge? Interesting question. They don't have 18-inch yet. Let's say they're trying to introduce the 18-inch, and they're trying to predict what they should charge. Probably they will not go, they will just look at the prediction and they probably will do something else. We are not saying that the prediction is the answer, but still people want to predict, right? For example, weather forecasts tell you tomorrow there will be a storm. Sometimes it doesn't matter, right? Sometimes it doesn't. It's not true, but still you want to know it. Still they want to predict, right? Now, how can you predict this? Let's say so far we know the linear equations, because those are the equations of the line. Using the graph, using the information here, can we draw a line first? Now, what you need to do? Okay, first of all, there are how many parameters you have here? 2 parameters, right? What are they? Diameter and price. Now, can you guess, based on our problem, what is going to be the independent variable and dependent variable? Independent is diameter, because you are going to, you know the diameter, but you want to know what will be the price. So you have to compare the price as y, diameter as x. Now, to make it a little bit simple, let's say your function will look like this. P equal to function of d. Look at this. I just replaced, like, I'm still writing the same thing. Instead of writing y equals to f of x, I wrote p equals to f of d. That's the same thing, basically, because we are comparing d with x and p with y. Okay. Now, how can you draw the line? Do you have enough information to draw the line? No? Yes? How many points you have? You have 4 points. You just need 2 to draw a line. You have more than what you need. Look at this. The first point is 8, 6.4, right? Second point is 10, 8. Third point is 12, 9.6, 16, 12.8. So there are 4 points you have. And all you need is just 2 points to draw the line. Can anyone, can you try to draw the line? So remember, you have 4 points. Choose any 2. Doesn't matter which 2 you choose. You'll be able to draw the line. Which formula you are going to use? Which form? You can use any form, but probably the best would be this. Best would be this, maybe. Point slope form, because all you need is you need to know 2 points to get your m, and you will know another point for there. You have plenty of points here. Just use any 2 points to get your slope, and then any point as x1, y1. Draw the line. Once we draw the line, meaning once we have the equation, we can answer that question. That what will be the price of the pizza when the diameter will be 18 inch. Do you want to try? Get the slope first. You can choose any 2 points. You have 4 points. You will have the same answer. Doesn't matter what points you choose. You will see some application problem in MyMATLAB. So the formula for m was m equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Again, you just need 2 points, right? And pick any 2. So do you have equation? If the equation match, I'll not do it. I'll assume that you have the right answer, because if the multiple answers are same. What is the equation you have? Anyone has equation? You have equation? No? Okay, let's try. Okay. None of you have the equation, has the equation? Oh, you have the slope? No, I just want the whole equation of the line. Because that's what we need, right? Because once we have the equation, we can find the answer. Now, let's say what you need to do is you just want to find the m first. Let's pick the first 2 points, because we can pick any 2. So the first point is x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, let's assume that. So you divide, remember the prices are y's for you, right? And the diameters are x's. Excuse me. So let's subtract the y's. 8 minus 6.4 over 10 minus 8, right? So this is going to be 1.6 over 2, right? Which is 0.8. Was that the slope for everyone? 0.8. Whoever got the slope, okay. Now let's put it in the equation. Now remember, I'm just changing the equation a little bit because I'm replacing the x by diameter, which is d, and I'm replacing the y by price, which is p, because at the end we know that they are x and y's. So I'm just writing the equation in the form like this. P minus y1 equals to m times d minus x1. Do you identify the equation? We just still have the same equation. What I did is I just replaced the y by p because our price is y, right? That's dependent variable. And our diameter is x, independent variable. We still have the, remember, this is still the point slope form. I just gave the new name for the parameters since the problem is different. So now let's p minus y1. Which point you want to pick? Let's pick the second one because the second one, both of the numbers are whole numbers. So you don't have to, but let's make it simple. So let's pick the second one because the second point, you see both of the points are whole numbers like 10 and 8. So p minus 8, right, equals, the m, which is 0.8, d minus 10. Now you will have p minus 8 equals to 0.8d minus 8. Now how you want to write the equation? General form. You have all the options. Let's see. Let's write it in any form. So let's say I write it in y equal to mx plus b form. Okay. I'm just, you can write it in any form, but I'm writing in this form. So here y is your p, right? So I'll just add 8 into both sides so that we can get rid of this 8. So if I do that, I will have only 0.8d. Because you see, I have minus 8 in both sides. Once I added 8, those 8s are gone. So this is going to be the equation. Y equals to, the P equals to 0.8d. Now, the slope. Yeah, I replaced the slope here, right? Was that the right answer? So you got the same answer? Yeah. Doesn't matter which point you pick, you should get 0.8 if our calculation is right. But that's the same thing, yeah. Yeah, because Now, let's try to see. So this is a line, equation of a line, okay? Now, anyone, have you noticed that I was trying to write the equation is y equals to mx plus b form, right? But for some reason, there was no b. Do you see that? Have you noticed that there is no b? Does anyone have any explanation that why it is like that? It's basically 0. So basically, take this is 0. What it means? It means that, I'm just trying to tell you like that way because so that you understand the equation, because, it's not an equation. It basically is telling you something. It depends on whether you listen it or not. Now, this is 0. That means the y-intercept is 0. What does it mean? Line is passing through the origin. This is the x and y axis. Line is something like this. This is the origin, right? That's why the intercept is 0. Again, we are just trying to understand the equation, that what it is telling. So since this is 0. Okay, now let's go back to the question. The question was, if the pizza is 18 inch, what will be the price? So you replace the d by 18 here. Once you replace the d by 18, you will get 0.8 times 18. What will be the answer? 1.44? Oh, 14.4. I'm sorry, 14.4. Okay, so the price of the pizza is predicted as $14.40. Again, that is a prediction, because probably they will do it and they will probably keep their price close to $14.40. It may be something else or close to that. Now, we'll stop our section 1.4 here, because after this slide we have two slides which will tell you how to get the graph in the calculator. Okay, make sure you look at this and you try it in the TI 84 or 84 plus or 83. See whether you can put those values. For an example, let's say somebody, we are doing the same thing. We are just trying to draw the line for the same problem. Do you see this data? They are from just a pizza problem. Okay, some diameters and those dollar, meaning those prices, and we have, like, let's say 4 points. Remember, we don't need 4 points, we just need 2 points, but since we have it, so we are just trying to show you here how you can draw a line from 4 points or whatever points you have. But remember, you can never draw a line only from 1 point. You must have to have, like, at least 2 or more. And then the next slide will basically these are the 2 slides, so that will tell you how the line. Do you see the line? Look at this. As we predicted, the line is passing through the origin. Do you see that? Because the y-intercept was 0. So choose those options and see, this is extremely detailed, and I know that all of the calculators starting from 83 have the same options, but probably the buttons will be a little bit here and there between 83 and 84 plus. Okay, so make sure you look at all those options and see whether you can plot it, and let me know if you cannot. And the next couple of slides we have some questions which are the same questions we just solved. Like none of the questions are new, like what is the slope, or what is the can you draw a line, or something like that. Okay, any question from here? So if you don't have any question, let me see whether we can move a little bit forward for